This is the bridge I was going to jump off of. In 2008, I was a junior in high school, and I was happy. Love, enjoyment, and fulfillment came easily to me through my friends, my family, my boyfriend, my activities like music and figure skating, and focusing on school. By 2009, 5 members of my extended family had died. My parents were on the brink of divorce, and my household was caught in constant fighting. What I was going through at home mixed with typical high school struggles, and I started fighting with my best friend, a girl who was going through her own set of issues. All of my other friends were in marching band, and I wasn't. It doesn't sound like much, but every weekend they got on a bus and went to football games, camps, competitions, and even parties together. They shared a set of experiences and memories that I couldn't be a part of, and I felt excluded and forgotten. Weighted by the struggles and overcommitted with my own activities, I became overwhelmed, then exhausted, then apathetic. As the stress increased, I found myself binging to cope and falling asleep uncontrollably. I always had long hair, and in a desperate act to regain control, I cut my hair off, then bleached it blonde, something I hated myself for. As I slept more, I practiced and studied less, and as I ate more, I gained weight. These symptoms slowly translated into declining performance in my schoolwork and activities, with pressure worsening each day as I got further into the college application process. Under the stress, I broke up with my boyfriend, whom I'd been dating for over a year, and found a rebound love interest in one of my best friends. I watched our friendship and our relationship painfully smolder, as neither of us was in a position to support each other, but we weren't willing to admit it. That friend was the only thing I had left. As I lost him, I lost the last fragments of my self-worth with him. This bridge and the promise of death that came with it started occupying my mind more and more. It wasn't long before my parents found out. I was immediately forced to see a counselor, and in May of 2009, I was given a diagnosis. For the past 7 years, I've been struggling with depression. Depression is something most people don't understand. Now, I'm going to explain what it's like living with depression by comparing it to something else most people don't understand: computer engineering. Like any good computer engineering lecture, this video starts with a little bit of math. This looks like a sine wave, but here this graph represents emotions. The center line is neutral, how you feel when nothing eventful is going on in your life. Your emotions vary naturally, from really positive emotions like joy, elation, and love, to really negative emotions like rage, grief, and regret. When I was getting depressed, my emotions became manic, where both positive and negative emotions are exaggerated. This means the bad moments were irrationally bad, something that's really common in depression. But it also means that the good moments were irrationally good. The traumatic things I went through affected me way more than they would a normal person, and my emotions looked something like this. Your brain and your computer's processor manage the things you have to do in your life, deciding both how important they are and when to do them. Let's say you have a really simple computer that can only do 3 things: super important task number 1, and not really important task number 2. This importance decides the order these tasks will be run in, so task 1 will run first, and task 2 second. But there's one condition where things don't go as expected. Understanding why is super technical, so I won't get into it here. The result, however, is that a less important task can end up running before a more important task. This is called priority inversion. Even though the computer is explicitly told which task is the most important, when priority inversion happens, the computer executes things in an unexpected order. A similar thing happens in brains. Normal brains focus on the tasks they need to during the day, be it a project at work or school, or Reddit, or a date you're looking forward to. As you get closer to a deadline or event, that task becomes more prominent in your mind, and as time passes after it's over, the task naturally fades from your mind. In my brain, priority is inverted. Instead of focusing on upcoming tasks, my brain focuses on those things related to the trauma I went through while getting depressed. Priority in my brain is based on how emotionally charged an event was. Unlike normal tasks, the emotionally charged tasks in my brain don't fade with time. This means that my brain is constantly ruminating on events that have no rational bearing on my life, and will continue to do so indefinitely. When new traumatic events arise, the effects are additive, meaning my brain will focus on new traumatic memories but doesn't forget the old ones. Increasingly more space is being used in my brain to focus on the trauma. For me, living with a depressed brain means being consistently weighted by the irrationally heavy emotional strain of traumatic events I've gone through. This is what it's like living with depression. You're fixated on memories of those events, constantly reliving the pain, and are psychologically unable to move on from those memories. This causes fatigue that never lets up and worsens with time. Sleep doesn't fix anything. It only offers a temporary reprieve from your problems. Because the majority of your brain power is spent continually processing these traumatic experiences, there's not much left for anything else. You become exhausted, and even regular and seemingly effortless tasks like getting out of bed or showering become impossible. Without cycles available to make decisions, you become indecisive. Your mind is so busy focusing on what's going on in your head that it doesn't focus on what's going on around you, and you begin to have attention problems. Without any brain cycles left to devote to storing the little information you do pick up, you start to have memory problems. Now imagine that these same traits appear in a computer. There's a simple task your computer's supposed to do, but for some reason it takes more CPU to complete on your machine than on anyone else's. Even though the task isn't very important, it's inexplicably the highest priority task on your machine. The task also takes way longer to complete than you expected, to the point where you're wondering if it'll ever end. As this task eats up the CPU on your machine starts running slower, until it struggles to complete even the simplest task. But the slowness is only one of many problems. The computer can't open things you know you saved. It turns out there's a memory problem. Every time you're using your computer, it randomly switches between programs or closes things you were working on, like it can't remember what it was supposed to be focusing on. Restarting the machine does nothing. The issues continue to the point where you're furiously clicking and typing and yelling and trying to get the computer to respond to anything. And you, the one using the computer, grow increasingly frustrated and resentful of this stupid machine that won't just do what it's supposed to do like every other computer does every single day. But we're not actually talking about a computer. She's a person, and she can see herself struggling to do things she knows she's supposed to be able to do. Things that other people can do, things she used to be able to do, but now can't. Other people make it worse, thinking they understand, that they've been through bad experiences and weren't nearly as affected, so you shouldn't exaggerate. Or maybe it's that you're not trying hard enough. You're beating yourself up, and other people affirm that it's your own fault you feel this way. And you believe them. As you continue, you feel like a burden. You're not performing up to standards for your job or your friends. You're lazy because you have trouble waking up in the morning and doing simple things. You don't care about the things in your life because you can't find the energy to spend on them, and you're consistently letting people down. Your self-worth plummets until the only thought that begins to make sense is that the world would genuinely be better off without you. Just as no one would hesitate to get rid of a computer functioning as poorly as the one mentioned previously, you are a poorly functioning human, and you too need to go. This is what it feels like to be depressed and suicidal. When you get into this state, you can't stay there. It's too painful. There are 3 things you can do to escape. The first way is to die. Dying to a depressed person is a permanent escape from the world and all of their problems in it. The second way is to somehow find the strength and resources to pull yourself out of the depression, genuinely getting better and rediscovering happiness, purpose, and self-worth in life. Or 3. This far into depression, the pain is paralyzing, but your body is biologically trained to protect itself. Your immune system removes harmful elements from your body when you're sick, and this time too, your body removes what's causing the pain. This time, however, it's not a foreign body that's the problem. It's your emotions themselves. To protect itself, your body learns to stop feeling. Sometimes it's called emotional numbness. Sometimes it's called anhedonia, and it's what my body did to survive. Emotional numbness is a double-edged sword. You can't stop feeling negative emotions without also giving up positive emotions. For me, I can't feel anything anymore. The happiest I can feel is content, and even my negative emotions are muted. The only exception is events that psychologically remind me of the trauma that caused my depression. In those cases, my mind immediately jumps back to the irrationally distressed emotional state I was in when I originally got depressed. I spend my life varying between distractedly content at best and irrationally distressed at worst. It doesn't matter that good things happen in my life. The emotional benefit of those good things is non-existent. I can't feel them. But the emotional reaction to anything bad that happens to me is paralyzing. I can't feel happiness anymore. I can't feel love anymore. I used to love dogs, and now when I see them, I don't feel anything. I completed my life goal of running a marathon, and when I crossed the finish line, I only felt relief that I could stop running, but nothing more. I have a boyfriend who is wonderful in every way I could ask for, but I can't tell if I love him. I used to be happy, but depression has changed me. I'm functional enough to do what's expected of me, but I'm a shell of a person going through the motions of a life. My schedule is based on instructions. Wake up, eat, bathe, work, be a decent human being. And it's instructions instead of intrinsic motivation. I've been comparing myself to a broken computer to help you understand who I've become. But perhaps the greatest irony in doing so is that through my symptoms, I have, in essence, become a machine.